I'm a 24-year-old female, gender studies major with a minor in women's rights activism, president of campus feminist organization, regular speaker at equality rallies and protests. Spent the last 4 years of college writing papers about dismantling patriarchal power structures. Thesis topic focused on how society artificially creates physical weakness in women through conditioning. Always believed that men and women are essentially identical in capability and potential strength. Differences we see are just result of cultural programming and internalized gender expectations. Constantly arguing with anyone who suggests biological differences between sexes actually matter. Strength is a social construct designed to keep women oppressed, is literally my catchphrase. Have given dozens of presentations about how women can do anything men can do. Parents are liberal professors who raised me to question traditional gender roles completely. Never played sports growing up because I thought competitive athletics reinforced toxic masculinity. Preferred debate team, student government, and academic pursuits over anything remotely physical. Always dismissed athletic achievements as primitive displays of meaningless biological advantages. Friends joke that I could argue my way out of any physical confrontation. Spent summer working at a women's shelter, seeing victims of domestic violence daily. Hearing their stories made me more convinced that women need empowerment, not protection. Decided that learning self-defense would be the perfect capstone project for my thesis. Going to prove once and for all that with proper training, women equal men. Research local gyms and martial arts schools for the most challenging environment possible. Specifically, want to avoid any women-only classes, because that's exactly the problem. Find this hardcore MMA gym downtown that offers advanced mixed self-defense courses. Class description mentions realistic combat scenarios and no-nonsense military-style training. Perfect. This will be the ultimate test of my theories about gender equality. Sign up online, making sure to specify that I want the advanced men's class. When they call to confirm, explain my academic research project to the receptionist. I'm documenting how women can succeed in traditionally male-dominated physical spaces. Receptionist sounds skeptical, but agrees to let me join the next session. Spend the week before class doing extra yoga and bodyweight exercises to prepare. Research basic self-defense techniques online, watching YouTube videos and reading articles. Feel confident that my years of academic study about physical empowerment will translate. Arrive at gym 30 minutes early. Want to observe the space and get comfortable. Place looks exactly like I expected. Heavy bags, weights, testosterone-fueled energy everywhere. Walls covered with photos of fighters, military insignia, and motivational posters about discipline. Other students start arriving, mix of ages, but all clearly experienced and athletic. Introduce myself to a few people, explaining my research project about breaking gender barriers. Most seemed genuinely interested and supportive, not the hostile reception I anticipated. Instructor arrives, immediately commands respect from everyone in the room without saying anything. Late 40s, military bearing, scars on his knuckles, looks like he's seen actual combat. Introduces himself as Sergeant Martinez, 20 years military, 10 years teaching civilian defense. Explains that this isn't a sport or hobby. It's about real-world survival situations. If you're here to feel good about yourself, there's a yoga studio next door. Starts explaining his philosophy about violence, preparation, and understanding genuine threats. First reality check comes during the basic fitness assessment he puts everyone through. Push-ups, pull-ups, burpees, sprints. Nothing I haven't seen before in fitness classes. Manage about 12 push-ups before my arms give out completely. Everyone else hits 30 plus. Can't do a single pull-up, not even with assistance, while others knock out sets easily. During burpees, I'm gasping for air after 5 reps. Others are moving like machines. Sprint portion is humiliating. I'm dead last by a significant margin despite trying my hardest. Sergeant Martinez doesn't comment, just marks notes on his clipboard with neutral expression. Already feeling frustrated, but convince myself this is just about cardiovascular conditioning. Real test will come when we start learning actual self-defense techniques and strategy. Partner up for basic grip escapes. Get matched with Jake. Accounting student seems pretty normal. About my height, maybe 170 pounds. Soft-spoken guy who works in an office. perfect test case. If I can't handle someone like him, then my theories need adjustment. Jake apologizes in advance, says he'll try to go easy since it's my first class. Exactly the kind of condescending attitude I came here to prove wrong about gender assumptions. Sergeant Martinez demonstrates proper technique for escaping wrist grabs. Looks straightforward enough. Basic twist and pull motion using leverage rather than brute force. Emphasizing technique over strength. Jake gently grabs my wrist, barely applying any pressure. Just light contact, really. Attempt the escape technique exactly as demonstrated, putting my full effort into the movement. His grip doesn't budge even slightly. My wrist stays exactly where he placed it. Try again with more force, twisting harder and pulling with my entire body weight. Jake's hand might as well be made of steel, completely immovable despite his relaxed posture. Maybe try rotating the other direction, he suggests helpfully, clearly trying to be encouraging. Attempt it the opposite way. Same result. His casual grip defeats my maximum effort. Jake isn't even paying attention, looking around the room while I struggle uselessly. Start feeling frustrated and embarrassed. Everyone else seems to be progressing normally. Ask Jake to loosen his grip. Maybe he doesn't understand. He's supposed to let me practice. I'm barely holding on at all, he says, demonstrating how light his contact actually is. Can literally see that he's using minimal pressure, just resting his hand around my wrist. Somehow, this makes it even worse. Realizing that his effortless grip trumps my best efforts, Sergeant Martinez notices my struggle, comes over to check my technique personally, demonstrates the movement again, this time using me as the subject for the escape. When he grabs my wrist, I can immediately feel the difference in grip strength. Even though he's clearly holding back, there's an underlying power that's frankly terrifying. Managed to execute the escape successfully when he deliberately loosens his grip for demonstration. Now you try it on him, he says, pointing to Jake, who's waiting patiently. Back to square one. All my attempts fail completely despite perfect technique. According to instructor, Sergeant Martinez has Jake switch to an even lighter grip, barely touching my wrist. Still can't escape even when he's essentially just laying his hand on top of mine. Other students are moving on to advanced variations while I'm stuck on basic level. Rotate partners to try with different people, hoping maybe Jake was unusually strong. Get paired with Tommy. 19-year-old college freshman, probably weighs 150 pounds, soaking wet. Looks like he's never seen the inside of a gym. Skinny arms and narrow shoulders. Surely I can handle someone who looks like he gets winded walking upstairs. Same exact result. His casual grip is completely immovable regardless of my technique or effort. Tommy actually apologizes, asks if he should let me throw him off for practice. Sergeant Martinez overhears and explains that artificial success teaches nothing about real situations. In the real world, attackers aren't going to let you win for practice. Harsh, but true. Still completely demolishing my confidence about gender equality in physical confrontations. Move on to shoulder grab escapes, hoping different muscle groups might give better results. Technique involves shrugging off the attacker's hand with forceful shoulder movement. Jake places his hand on my shoulder using what appears to be minimal pressure. Attempt the escape with explosive shoulder movement. His hand doesn't shift at all. Try again with my entire body behind the movement. Still absolutely nothing. Jake's hand might as well be super glued to my shoulder, completely immovable. He's not even gripping, just resting his palm there while I exhaust myself. Other pairs around us are executing smooth, successful escapes, looking natural and effective. Meanwhile, I'm turning red from effort while accomplishing literally nothing. Lunch break arrives, and I'm already dripping sweat from 30 minutes of failure. Sit alone with my protein bar trying to process what's happening to my worldview. Jake and few other guys come over genuinely trying to be supportive and encouraging. Hey, everyone struggles at first. Don't get discouraged about the learning curve. Took me months to get comfortable with any of this stuff. You're doing fine. Appreciate their kindness, but they completely miss the point of what's happening here. This isn't about learning curves or experience levels. It's about fundamental biological reality. Everything I've argued for years is being systematically destroyed. Second half of class focuses on ground defense, escaping from pins and controlling positions. Demonstration shows how to bridge hips and roll to escape someone on top. Looks simple enough. Just basic physics and leverage shouldn't require significant strength. Jake volunteers to demonstrate the position on me first. Instructor supervising closely. He's being incredibly gentle, just lying across me with minimal weight or pressure. Can immediately feel the difference, though. His body weight feels impossibly heavy and solid. Instructor shows me proper bridging technique using hip drive to create momentum for escape. Attempt the movement exactly as shown. Jake doesn't budge a single inch. Try again with maximum effort, bridging my hips as explosively as possible. Manage to lift him maybe 2 inches before my strength gives out completely. Jake isn't even trying to stay down, just dead weight, not resisting the movement at all. Spend the next 20 minutes cycling through different escape techniques with various partners. Same result every time. Complete inability to move anyone regardless of their size or cooperation. Smallest guy in class is maybe 5'6" and 140 pounds. Looks like a computer programmer. Even he's completely immovable when he's on top despite using zero resistance. Starting to feel genuinely panicked about what this means for my entire belief system. Have spent years telling other women that physical differences are just social conditioning. Now learning firsthand that I couldn't escape from a teenage boy who isn't even trying. Break time again. Duck into bathroom to splash water on my face and think. Stare at myself and mirror, trying to reconcile what's happening with everything I believe. Maybe I'm just out of shape. Maybe other women would perform better in this situation, but deep down, starting to realize that this goes way beyond individual fitness levels. Return to class for striking portions. Maybe this will be different since it's skill-based. Instructor teaches basic punching technique, emphasizing form and precision over raw power. Practice on heavy bags first, focusing on proper stance, rotation, and follow-through. Throw my best punch using perfect form. According to instructor, bag barely moves at all. Guy next to me, throat looks identical. Bag swings dramatically and makes loud impact sound. Instructor adjusts my stance and form. Tells me to try again with better technique. Second attempt with flawless form. Still barely any visible impact on the bag. Watch other students. Even the small ones are making the bags dance with their strikes. Clearly, this isn't about technique or training. It's about fundamental physical capability. Move to partner striking drills. Practicing controlled contact with protective padding. Paired with Jake again, he's volunteered to work with me for the remainder of class. We're supposed to practice light contact strikes to padded chest and shoulder areas. Throw my best controlled punch at his padded chest. He doesn't even step back. Good form, he says encouragingly, but I can tell he barely felt the impact. His turn to demonstrate on me, he barely taps me through the protective gear. Even through thick padding, can sense the massive potential force behind his gentlest touch. If he wanted to, he could probably launch me across the room with minimal effort. This realization makes me feel incredibly vulnerable and fragile for the first time. Never really thought about physical vulnerability before. Always felt mentally invincible. Class ends with light sparring, instructor pairing people very carefully by experience level. Obviously get matched with Jake again. Full protective gear, extremely controlled contact. Even with him moving in slow motion and pulling every technique, feel completely helpless. Every movement he makes is faster, stronger, more coordinated than anything I can produce. Like trying to play tennis against a professional who's deliberately losing. The gap is so enormous that their easy mode is still impossibly beyond my capabilities. Drive home in complete silence, not sure how to process what just happened. Everything I've spent 4 years studying and believing has been shattered in one afternoon. Sit in my apartment that evening, staring at my thesis draft about empowering women. Pages and pages of arguments about how physical differences are just social constructs. Research actual scientific studies about strength differences between men and women. Data is overwhelming and undeniable. Average differences of 50 to 90% in various metrics. These aren't small gaps that can be overcome with motivation and better training. These are massive fundamental biological differences that no social programming can change. Feel like my entire identity and worldview have been completely demolished. Call my best friend Sarah to talk through what happened, expecting support and understanding. She immediately dismisses everything, says, I just had a bad day and shouldn't give up. You're letting one experience override years of education and research? Try to explain that this wasn't about having a bad day. It was about confronting reality. She gets defensive, starts lecturing me about internalized misogyny and patriarchal conditioning. Hang up, feeling more isolated and confused. Realize that admitting what I learned makes me a traitor. Spend the weekend researching more, finding study after study, confirming what I experienced. Muscle mass, bone density, cardiovascular capacity, all dramatically different between sexes. No amount of training or social conditioning can close these fundamental gaps. Decide to return to class the following week. Maybe it was just first day nerves. Second session goes exactly the same way. If anything, perform even worse due to fatigue. By the third week, reality has fully settled in about what I've discovered. Approach Sergeant Martinez after class to have honest conversation about my experience. I came here trying to prove that physical differences between men and women were mostly social. I was completely wrong about everything, and I don't know how to deal with that. He's surprisingly understanding and thoughtful in his response to my crisis. A lot of people come in here with misconceptions about violence and physical reality. Important thing is you're learning something true about the world, even if it's uncomfortable. Explains that acknowledging biological differences doesn't mean women are inferior or less valuable, just means we need to be honest about different strengths, weaknesses, and approaches to safety. Continue attending class for rest of semester, slowly improving, but never remotely catching up. Gain tremendous respect for other students who are patient and encouraging throughout. Learn that while strength isn't everything, it's much more important than I ever imagined. Develop some actual practical self-defense skills, even if I'll never match male capability. More importantly, learn to let go of ideological thinking that ignores basic observable reality. Start completely rewriting my senior thesis to reflect what I've actually learned. New thesis focuses on how we can acknowledge differences while still promoting equality. Friends and family are shocked by my changing views. Some accuse me of betraying feminism. Professors are disappointed, expected me to write something confirming their preferred narratives. Graduate with completely different understanding of gender, biology, and human nature. Sometimes the most important education comes from having your assumptions totally destroyed. Now work as counselor helping other women develop realistic approaches to personal safety. Teach classes about situational awareness, escape techniques, and when to seek help. No longer tell women they can physically match men. Instead, focus on practical strategies. Get criticism from feminist organizations who think I've been brainwashed by patriarchy. But helping women stay actually safe matters more than maintaining comfortable illusions. Looking back, that first day at the gym was the most important education I ever received. Learning that reality doesn't care about your political beliefs or academic theories. Sometimes the truth is uncomfortable, but it's still the truth, regardless of our feelings. Wish someone had taught me these lessons earlier. Could have saved years of delusion. Now trying to help other young women avoid the same ideological trap I fell into. Real empowerment comes from understanding the world as it actually is, not as we wish it were. If this confession kept you hooked, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We share powerful true stories every day that explore the complex realities of life.